Hey, what is up guys? It's Brendan here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my 2025 credit card strategy when it comes to my overall credit card setup. Now in this video, I'm going to be walking through a cashback focused credit card strategy, as that's what I primarily focus on in my own credit card choices when it comes to applying and utilizing certain credit cards. I really do optimize around cashback credit cards. In this video, we're going to be walking through my overall cashback credit card strategy for this year and what it looks like now. So without further ado, before we dive into things, of course, I do want to mention you go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps out the channel and this video. And if you do want to check out any of the credit cards mentioned here in today's video, you can go and check out those links linked down below in the video description. Of course, that will be links to all the different credit cards here listed in this video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, at the first credit card in this list is the Discover It Cashback credit card. Now, currently, I am waiting for this one to arrive in the mail, but this is probably one of my new favorite credit cards, and it has been around the block for a while. It's honestly surprising that I haven't gotten it just yet, but essentially what the Discover It Cashback credit card does get you is essentially a 5% rotating category credit card. Now, in this video, you're going to find that I primarily focus and try to get really 5% on as many different types of cashback categories as possible in order to earn that sweet 5% cash back on as much and as many different purchases as I can as possible. And that's really one of the main benefits here with the Discover It Cashback credit card as well. Now, like I said, this is a rotating category card. Now, when you first apply, depending on when you're applying, you may or may not see a cash bonus. So they do offer a referral bonus as well for this card. So you may get $100 as well by signing up for this card and making a purchase. Again, that does depend on when you're watching this video. If they do have that available, as well as a cashback match, which is essentially a dollar for dollar match. As you can see here, $1 in cashback, $1 to redeem that you do get for that first year. So you do get the cashback match depending on when you're watching this video. Again, that offer may or may not be available, but essentially it is the 5% cashback on rotating categories. This could be things like grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations. Now, currently in this year, January 2025, this is the cashback calendar. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, you may see different categories depending on the quarter. Essentially how this works is every quarter it changes to new categories. Otherwise, it's just that flat 1% cashback. Although with that first year cashback match, it could be essentially a 2% card for that first year on all the different purchases. And essentially that cashback on the 5% would be that double cashback match as well. So you're really getting a lot of maximized value here with the Discover It Cashback card. And in terms of the categories right now in January that this will cover, again, this is January to March 2025. Again, depending on when you're watching this video, you might be in the April, July, October. But right now it's restaurants, home improvement stores, and select streaming services. So for me personally, I find the restaurants really a nice category to tackle because restaurants are a very popular category that a lot of people spend money on. So restaurants is a great category to hit there with the Discover It Cashback card. You also have home improvement stores and select streaming services. I'll be getting into some other cards later in this video that do cover streaming services. That's an easier category to get covered, but home improvement stores can be somewhat of a difficult category to get covered. So it is nice right now they do have the restaurants and home improvement stores. Personally, I won't be spending too much on home improvement stores. Knock on wood, hopefully everything keeps working just fine at my house and there's no problems, but restaurants is really the main focus here for this card. Now, of course, moving forward, there's also the opportunity for other quarters, but that's essentially one of the main perks, at least at the moment. And then, of course, there's always different categories that may change and rotate to. So it's good to have just these rotating type 5% cashback cards because you can always sort of slot them in depending on what categories are available for a specific quarter. Do keep in mind a lot of these you do have to activate as well. So, it is a little bit of work. You got to sign in and click a button every few months. It's not a big deal. So it's really a pretty good card. That's why I mentioned this here at the #1 spot here in this video, and I do have it on the way, so I'm excited to get started with this one. But moving in at number 2, we also have the Chase Freedom Flex. Now this one I've actually had for a long time. It was probably, I think, my third credit card ever. But the Chase Freedom Flex is another 5% cashback rotating category card. Now right now they do have a card member bonus as well, so it's like earn $200 bonus when you spend $500 in purchases in the first 3 months. So getting these cashback cashback bonuses, to me, it is really nice when you're first getting started with a card, but I look more for the long-term value, right? What is this card actually going to get me in the long term? Yes, in the short term, the sign-up bonus is nice. It's a nice, easy cash bonus, and the overall percent back that you get on that spend is really good. But overall, in the long term, that's more so what I look for, right? What am I actually getting in the long run? So with the 5% cashback categories, they do rotate essentially the same as the Discover card, but with the Freedom Flex, they do also include 3% on dining, including takeout and drugstores. So dining, including takeout, as well as drugstores. So something like Walgreens, you would also get 3% there. Now, again, 3% is fine. It's a nice fallback percentage, but again, we're targeting that 5%, right? So the categories that are currently available now, depending on when you're watching this video, again, just to mention that disclaimer here, currently, this could be things like gas stations, grocery stores. Currently, if we look at the January to March, it is grocery stores. So this would include places like Publix if you're in Florida. It does exclude Walmart and Target, but essentially, really most grocery stores, as long as you're not going to like the bigger retailers like things like that, is excluding Walmart and Target. But if you're going to other grocery stores like a Publix, a Food Lion, or Aldi, or whatever grocer that you have in your local area, that's going to count. And grocery stores is a large spending category for a lot of people. So this is a really good category that they currently have, and you're able to hit it here with the Freedom Flex. Now, currently, they also have Norwegian Cruise Line, which I guess, hey, maybe if you're signing up for a cruise. Fitness clubs and gym memberships. This is actually a really nice category for me personally in this quarter, and is another good 5% category that I will be throwing my Crunch Gym membership more than likely on that to get that sweet 5%. Maybe if you go to the nails hair salon or something like that, maybe that's also useful to you, the hair, nails, and spa services. Maybe that'd be useful to you. But realistically, the nice thing about these 5% categories is they are always rotating. So some months or some quarters, the card might not be as valuable or as useful as other quarters. So it's good to have these just so that when they are useful to you, again, depending on your overall spend, this is just my personal strategy, but this strategy does also, have some diversity here for different types of spending patterns, right? Depending on what you spend money on, different cards might be more useful to you, depending on these categories. Now, again, grocery stores, fitness clubs, I find that to be pretty good. So that will cover me for this quarter here, but it is a good card in the long term because you never know what category might show up here. It could be useful to you, and then you can easily just slot that in for a given month of spend, so you earn that 5% quarterly cash back with the Freedom Flex. One thing also to mention too is if they do include a restaurant here, it can actually be up to like 7% because they do include like an extra 2% on dining or the 3%. So depending on the way that the cashback actually calculates, sometimes if they include a restaurant inside here, you can actually get like up to 7%. Depending on the month. Again, that is variable, but sometimes you can actually do that as well. So you can't even get above 5% earned, which is pretty nice. Moving into the next card in this list here for my overall cashback strategy, we have the Custom Cash. Of course, this is one of my favorite cashback credit cards, one that I have had for a little over a year now, or about a year now, and I found it to be really, really good in my overall strategy and setup because you can earn up to 5% cash back on your top eligible spend category. This is automatically every single month. There's no activation, no rotating categories, so you don't have to mess around with that. It always can be whatever you want it to be, hence the name Custom Cash. Now, of course, that comes with its own limitations, is that is only up to $500 in spend, and it is limited to certain categories that Citi has in their category list. I'll be showing you that in a second, but it is quite an expansive list overall that you do get up to that $500 in spend. You earn 5% on the $500 spent. And this is each billing cycle, not per quarter, it's billing cycle. So that's basically every month. If you spend up to $500 each month, you would get that as well. Now, of course, not to gloss over the sign-up bonus, currently it is $200 cash back on $1,500 in spend in 6 months, which over 6 months, that's probably pretty easy to do. Realistically, that's a little bit of an easier cashback, sign-up bonus that you can do with them. Now, in terms of the eligible categories, this includes restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores, select travel, select transit, select streaming services, drugstores, home improvement stores, fitness clubs, live entertainment. Now, I find personally the live entertainment is really nice because if you have an expensive concert ticket, even up to, as long as it's up to $500, you get that 5% on on the live entertainment. It's also really nice for gas stations and grocery stores. Those are two popular categories essentially every single month. You're going to be, especially restaurants too, even restaurants is another good category, but gas stations and grocery stores, like you're going to be spending money on that every single month just to live essentially. So you can always slot those two categories in very easily. It's not necessarily like, for transit or travel or home improvement stores or like live entertainment, you're not necessarily spending huge chunks of money every single month on those categories. So it could be good to slot them in depending on when you're spending money in certain categories. But the nice thing about the custom cash is this is consistent. There's no changes. It's very consistent. And essentially what many people do with the custom cash, including myself, is if you have the Freedom Flex, say for this month, right, grocery stores are actually going to be covered under that January to March. So I don't need to put grocery store spending on the custom cash. Now that frees up the custom cash to, okay, I don't need to spend it on grocery stores now to get 5%. I'll throw it on gas stations. Or if I didn't have the Discover It card, I could throw it on restaurants or something like that. Or maybe if I had a big concert coming up that I'm spending a lot of money on, maybe throw it to live entertainment for that month because you're going to be spending a lot of money and maybe you're spending more overall on that versus the grocery store. So it does free things up a lot. Having the custom cash is a really versatile card to have in your arsenal because you can slot in instead of that 5%. If your 5% is already being covered by a rotating category, such as the Freedom Flex or such as the Discover It cashback card, then the custom cash from Citi can slot in for the category that's already being covered. Now you can move it to another category, essentially. And you just do that per billing cycle. It's pretty easy to do. It's automatic. You can just plan accordingly. So that's another really great card. Now, moving in next in this list is the US Bank Cash Plus Visa Signature Card. Now, I only got this card maybe a few months ago, but it's already been one of the best cards in my overall setup for cash back, and that's because they do have some very unique cashback categories. Now, I will say, caveat, these cashback categories aren't necessarily useful to everybody, but if you do pay certain types of bills or if you have certain expenses, I'll get into the categories in just a second, it can be extremely useful, especially covering areas that most other credit cards don't touch at all in terms of cashback categories. These are very unique categories. If you do have them, this can be a very good card for you, as well as it's up to 5% cashback on 2 categories. Now, you do have to activate this each month, but it does not change. Essentially, these categories do stay consistent. You do just have to activate them each month or billing cycle, or it might actually be quarter that you are going to activate these for, but essentially you activate them and they're going to stay consistent. You can always keep going through and changing them. Yeah, see each quarter on 2 categories you choose. So it is quarterly. When I got it, it was close and in between quarters. That's why I figured, I was like, oh, it was like the next month. But essentially for the US Bank Cash Plus card, if we take a look at the categories we have here, you can earn 5% on 2 categories such as the fast food, home utilities, TV, internet and streaming, department stores, cell phone, electronic stores, sporting goods stores, gym, fitness centers, ground transportation, movie theaters, furniture stores, and select clothing stores. Now, and then they also have a 2% cash back as well, but honestly, the 2%, it's fine. It's not really a big deal, honestly. We'll get into the 2% cards in just a moment as far as what that strategy looks like, but really this isn't the most important or interesting part. Really, it's the 5% categories. Now, some of these 5% categories kind of suck in my opinion. Like, okay, fast food, maybe that's a good category for you if you spend a lot of money on fast food. But realistically, I feel like for most people getting this card, from what I've seen on Reddit, from the internet, it's the home utilities and the TV, internet, and streaming, because those are big recurring bills that you can just throw this card on every single month or quarter, depending on when your bills hit, for those home utilities such as your water bill, electric bill, gas bill, all those types of things. For TV, internet, and streaming, this includes your Wi-Fi bill, right? Maybe Disney Plus or Apple Music, all those things. And the nice thing here, it's internet and streaming. So a lot of other cards just lump the streaming as a separate category. This actually also includes TV and internet. So maybe you also pay for TV services, such as like YouTube TV or something like that. But you also include internet here. So it's realistically, I see this as really almost like 3 categories lumped in one. And then you also have home utilities. This is a really, really good card if you are spending in these categories. If you're not, I could see why maybe this isn't necessarily the best card for everybody. That's why I'm putting it a little later in this list, because I feel like the other cards, pretty much everybody spends money on those other categories very easy. These are a little bit more specific categories depending on your overall spend. But for me, I do find it very useful. I've gotten a lot of cash back from the home utilities, TV, internet, and streaming. I mean, it's just a very easy thing. You set up your recurring billing with a credit card and boom, you're going to hit it, right? Very easy to get that 5% cash back, save a little bit of money every month and every year with this type of card. Now, they do also have a rewards bonus as well. $1,000 in the first 90 days. Depending on when you're watching this, you may or may not see the rewards bonus. Again, I'm in it for the long-term value play, but it does also have a nice little sign-up bonus too, which is cool. Moving on, next, we have the Citi Double Cash Card. Now, this card is a flat rate 2% cashback credit card. Essentially, the way I look at it, anything that doesn't fit in the 5% categories, you pretty much just throw it on a 2% card. You could also go for the Wells Fargo Active Cash Card. I do also have this one as well. And that is another flat rate 2% card. And they do have a nice little easy sign up bonus. It's $500 in the first 3 months for $200 cash bonus currently. It's pretty easy to hit in my opinion. And that's unlimited 2% cash rewards. Very, very easy. I actually kind of like the Wells Fargo Active Cash a little bit better than the Citi Double Cash because the Citi Double Cash does take you a little bit longer to get the rewards bonus because it's the 1% as you pay and 1% when you buy. So you do have to wait a little bit longer to get the 2% cash back, depending on how you go about paying your bills and things like that. Again, if you are setting it up with statement balance, it does just take a little bit longer to get the cash back to sit in your account. The other thing too is, at least for me currently, the Citi Double Cash and the Wells Fargo Active Cash, little redundant. I did get the Citi Double Cash first, so what I am planning to do, depending on if this works, again, leave a comment down below, maybe if you've done this already, but a lot of people I see on Reddit do a product change with the Citi Double Cash to get a second Citi Custom Cash card. Again, I have not done that yet, but a lot of people have done it, so that's something that I may explore as well. Probably will be trying to at least do it to get a second Citi Custom Cash, and then I would have 2 of these cards essentially, because realistically the Citi Double Cash and the Wells Fargo Active Cash, they essentially do the same thing. They're both 2% cards just for easy cash back. So really they're a little bit redundant. Moving on, next in this list, this one is an honorable mention that I actually don't currently yet have, but is something I'm considering. You know, maybe leave a comment down below if you have this card. This is the Wells Fargo Attune card, and this is 4% cash back on a lot of different categories. The sign-up bonus isn't necessarily as great. You know, even just look compared to the Active Cash, it's 200 versus 100. But the 4% categories, it is very interesting categories. It's things like gym and fitness centers. You have live events or recreation, as well as certain public transportation, EV, so impactful purchases. I get these are very odd categories, but does cover a lot of different areas with the Wells Fargo Attune card to get 4% cash back. Now, it's not quite as good as the 5% on a lot of the other cards, but again, I'm not going to read through all the different categories here, but this is a lot of things: pet care, gardening, collectibles. Like, there's a lot of merchants in here in this list. Live entertainment, sporting events, things like that. Like, if you are going to be spending a decent amount on certain things here, you know, all these different categories and merchants, it could be worth digging into to take a look at if maybe you're going to have some bigger purchases. Maybe that 4% does actually make a difference, and maybe you're not covering it currently with other cards that you have, or in my case, other cards that I have. So I might get this one. I'm really not completely sold on it just because the categories are a little bit harder to hit. They're a little oddball, and honestly, I do get a lot of these categories covered with some of the other cards I already have. But it could be just an easy way of maybe if it's not covered by a 5% card at the moment or in a certain quarter, hey, then I would hit it with at least 4%, which is still better than like just a flat rate 2%. You know, at the bare minimum, get a flat rate 2% card for any purchase. But beyond that, you know, maybe the Attune card for that 4% might make sense. But again, it's sort of like an honorable mention later in this video. For my overall cashback strategy, it's one that I'm maybe considering a little bit on the fence with. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful, just going through my overall strategy for credit cards moving into this year. primarily with a cashback focus. Again, this is just my current strategy, my overall thoughts, and just airing it out as my overall thought process for different credit cards that I'm going to be using to get that sweet 5% cashback, or more even in some cases, for all the different purchases, and just really the overall cashback credit card strategy. If you do want to check out any of these credit cards mentioned here in today's video, we'll leave links down below in the video description. If you guys found this video helpful or enjoyed it, then be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and maybe leave a comment if you have any comments about different credit cards you're using or current strategies, things you're thinking about. It would really be nice to, maybe start a conversation down there or something like that. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Anyway, guys, that's all for today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.